Hey, what's going on guys? It's FPL Yusuf here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Yes, I am back. It feels like it's been forever, but we are back. I'm back with the Game Week 30 team selection video. So in this one, we're going to cover how we got in Game Week 29. We'll take a look at some of the transfers that I'm looking to make this week. We'll also take a quick look at about the FA Cup draw happening on Monday evening and also the blanks for coming up for 31. And of course, I will show you guys what my rough team selection is looking like for Game Week 30 ahead of this game week. So I do hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And as always, let's just jump straight into it. Okay, welcome back guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today on my YouTube channel for another video. Yes, it has been forever, or at least it feels like it's been forever. It's been about a month since I last uploaded. I apologize for the delay in my content. There's been a whole lot going on. I've been away on holiday, you know, I'm fasting right now. Work's been busy, so there's been a whole host of different things as to why, you know, I haven't uploaded. But we are back. We are back to my normal schedule now, hopefully, fingers crossed, where we come with the 3, sometimes 4 videos a week and with a Game Week 30 transfer plan video. So let's take a look at how we got in Game Week 29. And overall, it was actually a really good game week. We finished on 71 points. We got a green arrow up to 415,000, which is, you know, we are pushing towards that sort of top 100k, which is obviously at the start of the season was the goal. Now we're in the home run. We've got 9 games left, so now it's time to really sort of make a move and really start pushing for that rank. Let's start off with the defense first, and the Arsenal assets came in clutch. David Raya with 7 points, obviously got the clean sheet and got a bonus point for, you know, his overall performance. Timber and Gabriel, massive hauls from them. Timber with 13, Gabriel with 11. Gabriel hitting the DEFCON and, you know, getting 3 bonus points. Timber getting an assist and 2 bonus points. I can't remember the last time I actually got 3 players from the same team that end up getting all 3 bonus, and it was all 3 of them. It was Gabriel, it was Timber, and it was David Raya. Daniel Munoz, unfortunately, a little bit disappointed from him. He came off after 14 minutes with an injury, and we are going to touch on him and his future in my team in the next section. So, yeah, kind of a little bit of disappointment to round off the game week in the defence, but overall, the Arsenal assets carried a lot this week. Then we come on to the midfield. 3 out of the 4 returned. Cole Palmer getting himself a goal. I actually felt a little bit underwhelmed by his return in the end, and I know I shouldn't, because a goal and 2 bonus points, you know, 9-pointer is great. But I did think that, you know, when I saw the scoreline for Chelsea, I thought that there might be a little bit more. But, you know, these things happen from time to time. Bruno Fernandes getting himself an assist, bonus points, which got him to 8 points. Semenyo scored. We did have him captain as well, so he got, you know, 14 returns. Dango, now this is the one decision I made the wrong choice this week. Now, at the start of the game week, obviously it was such a quick turnaround from 28 to 29. I actually had Ismail Assar starting, and he's currently on my bench with 15 points because I did change him for Dango. I didn't really look too much about, you know, what was going on with the game week. I read a little snippet of a section from the Scout where they were talking about Dango's away form and how good it was. So I decided to go with that. I decided to trust that Dango would, you know, step up. And what I've really learned from the Brentford assets this year is every time I've owned them, if it be Igor Thiago, Dango, the defence, they never turn up when I've got them in my starting lineup. And on my bench, you know, I had Christoph Ayer with 6 points. I had James Hill with 8. I think I had about 31 points on my bench this week, which was terrible. But yeah, Dango was the only decision we didn't make, which was the right one. And then a really, really underwhelming performance from the forward line. Ekitike only 2 points. Thiago, as I said, another blank for him. And Raul Jimenez, who's a big concern for me right now, getting pulled off before the 60th minute, only 1 point for him. So overall, it was a really good game week in the grand scheme of things. It could have been a whole lot better just due to the players who blanked, you know, some fixtures which maybe didn't go the way I was hoping them to, you know, injuries in the team. So overall, 71 points, we'll take it. We are on a green arrow up to 415k. Let's jump into the transfers that I'm looking to make for next week. Right, so Game Week 30 is fast approaching us, and it's all about transfers. Now, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about this in the next section, but there is a blank coming in Game Week 31. So I would say right now, my overriding thought on this is that if you can roll, just do it, because you're going to need those transfers for 31. Obviously, when we hear the FA Cup draw, we'll know the doubles coming in 33, 34, 35, depending on which game week they fall in. So, yeah, my overall thought on this is if you can roll, which is why that's my #1 spot on here. However, I do have 2 free transfers in the bank currently, and I do have a few issues. So Raul Jimenez, we're going to start with him first, like I just touched on in the last section. He's becoming a bit of a problem for me now. It seems a bit silly taking him out because he's playing Nottingham Forest away this week, and then obviously he is playing in 31 against Burnley at home. However, I just don't trust that his minutes are going to be there. And even if they are, he just gets pulled off so early. So for me, he's too much of a risk right now, and one that I don't really want to take. The question is, where do you go? So João Pedro is, of course, up first. You know, Chelsea are playing Newcastle at home this week. They do have a fixture in 31 as well, which is really nice. He's a real hit and miss type player, but obviously last week come off the back of a fantastic result, hat-trick for him. 19 points if you owned him, well done, congratulations. It is he's somebody that I'm potentially looking at. I think that there's two options here really for the Raul Jimenez replacement. João Pedro is one. Obviously, I do own Cole Palmer, so I would be doubling up on Chelsea. The other option is that I go for Benjamin Sesko. Now, I'm not sure whether or not his 90 minutes are necessarily guaranteed. Again, he's the same as João Pedro in terms of he plays in 31 as well. So, you know, there is potential there for me to, you know, bring one of these two guys in. I just think Raul Jimenez has to go at this point. Even though he's got good fixtures, you know, Forest and Burnley, it seems a bit silly selling him before that. It's the minutes for me, and you know, I just don't know whether he's going to start. You know, they've been progressively getting lower and lower, so yeah, I don't think it'll be too long before we see Rodrigo Muniz starting up front, and then obviously by then he's a pointless pick. So yeah, those are my two options to replace Raul Jimenez. The other player that I'm looking to potentially get rid of is Ismaila Sarr. Now, obviously, he's come off the back of a fantastic result against Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham, they're not in the greatest of form. I think I personally wouldn't read too much into it because I think a lot of players can turn up against Tottenham. Ismaila Sarr for me is a very frustrating own. I've held him. He's blank, blank, blank. The one time I have him on my bench is when he returns. He is obviously blanking in 31, which is another reason why he's going to have to go at some point, either this week or next week, just because when I get to 31, I'm going to have the three Arsenal assets and Semenyo, who I want to bench. So Munoz and Ismaila Sarr are both players that I'm going to look to get rid of. I think the real question now is that if I get rid of Ismaila Sarr this week, A, is the replacement going to play for him this week? And B, if I don't get rid of him this week, is Ismaila Sarr going to start? So right now, I'm going to come into my team selection a bit later for what I'm currently looking at. Ismaila Sarr, I do have him in my team now. He's playing against Leeds at home, which on paper sounds great. I don't necessarily think it's that good of a fixture, and I don't really see Crystal Palace doing a whole lot in this game, if I'm being honest with you. The replacements that I'm looking are one of two really. Number one is Florian Wirtz. He is back for Liverpool. Obviously, before he got injured, he was really starting to find some form, which is great. Obviously, they do play in 31 as well, which is really nice. So that is my first option. The second option is a little bit more of a different one, and that is a Morgan Gibbs-White / Elliot Anderson sort of pivot into a Nottingham Forest. Now, I know it sounds a bit crazy because obviously Nottingham Forest are fighting relegation. However, I think that you're going to start to see some elevated performances from them where they start picking up wins, and, you know, both of them can be on set pieces from now and then. Obviously, Elliot Anderson's more of a defensive sided player where he's getting his DEFCONs. Morgan Gibbs-White got a little bit more of an attacking threat. So I do think, obviously, at this stage of the season when you're trying to go for rank as well, having differentials in your team is a must if you want to sort of start climbing the ladder, which is why I'm looking at someone like Morgan Gibbs-White as a little bit more of a standout than Elliot Anderson. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. I think that one will depend on whether or not I feel like Crystal Palace can actually do something against Leeds. So right now, Ismaila Sarr is somebody that I am looking to get rid of. If it's not this week, it will 100% be next week. And that's the same with Daniel Munoz. I've got him on this list solely just because he's not going to go anywhere this week. I've got him on my bench. He's currently flagged on FPL, but I've got, you know, defenders who can start over him. So there's no need for me to waste the transfer on him this week. However, next week, he will be going because obviously, like I said, Crystal Palace will be blanking. After that, their fixtures do take a little turn for the worst. So yeah, he will be on the chopping block, just not this week. Okay, so let's take a quick little minute to talk about the FA Cup draw. Obviously, that's happening tonight at the time we're recording this. It is currently Monday morning. It will be happening, I think, about 7:05 p.m. tonight. So stay tuned for that. It'll be a big one, telling us kind of who's going to be blanking in the upcoming game weeks, who's got the potential to be doubling, all that good stuff, which is obviously sort of now when people are looking to play their wild cards, roll their transfers. This is why you want to know. So if you have got transfers in the bank, and like I said, you don't need to make any, just keep them because these transfers will become useful as we get later down the line. Also, just a reminder that obviously in 31, we have got blanks for Arsenal, Wolves, Manchester City and Liverpool. So if you've got those assets, I would start thinking about having a contingency plan for them if you haven't. And like I said, you know, you don't need to make a transfer this week, roll it, and then worry about what you're going to deal with those players in next game week when we get to 31. Right, so let's take a look at what my team is looking like so far for game week 30. And I've got the triple Arsenal at the back, David Raya in goal, Yuri and Timber and Gabriel. They will all be starting. They are at home to Everton, so I am hopeful of a clean sheet. The third defender in my back three is a real tough choice for me. It's either James Hill, who's going away to Burnley, or Christoph Ayer, who's at home to Wolves. Now, I think this one really could come down to a coin flip. I think I'm probably going to end up going for James Hill just because he's got, I think, a little bit more of a DEFCON threat than, you know, Christoph Ayer. But I think this one is a really close call and could basically just be decided by the toss of a coin. So yeah, right now I've got James Hill in there. I don't think he's going to change that much unless, you know, we hear an injury or something happens. But for now, that is what my defense is looking like. Then we come on to our five-man midfield. We've got Cole Palmer, we've got Bruno Fernandes, we've got Dango, we've got Semenyo, and we have currently got Ismaila Sarr starting. So Cole Palmer is at home to Newcastle. Obviously, he's on penalties. For me, I think he's a really good player to own right now because he is still differential. For those who are still holding Haaland, they haven't got the funds to go to him. So for me, I'm happy to keep him. Bruno Fernandes, of course, just Mr. Consistent. He's going nowhere. Then we come on to the other three. Semenyo, like I said, if you've got him, you're definitely going to be playing him. He's, you know, been consistently turning up for Manchester City. Doesn't really seem to get into bonus points that much, but, you know, he'll average everywhere between 7 to 9. So it's a nice little return for the price he's at anyway. The two that I'm sort of considering about whether they start or not is Dango and Ismail Assar. So right now I've got them both starting, and Raul Jimenez is currently sitting on my bench. If I do make a forward transfer, one of these two is going to have to come out because I'm going to want to start the forward that I've brought in. I think right now I probably would look to bench Ismail Assar if that does happen, just because I think Dango at home has probably got a little bit more high upside against the opposition he's playing versus what, you know, Crystal Palace have got at their home. So yeah, for right now I'm going to start with the 5-man midfield. If I do make a striker transfer for Raul Jimenez, then that striker will come in for Ismail Assar. The two we have got up front is Ekitike and Igor Thiago. My captaincy is currently on Ekitike. I don't know how to feel about this because it's usually the games that you don't expect Ekitike to turn up in is when he does, and vice versa. When you do expect him to turn up in, he doesn't. So Tottenham is a game that I do expect him to turn up, which is why I'm a little bit unsure. I personally think that this is going to be a 3-4 goal game for Liverpool. And obviously, like I said, if I do believe that, then I think that Ekitike is going to be a big part of it, which means the captaincy is obviously there for a reason. However, he has burnt me in the past. You know, I'm sure a lot of us have been a little bit frustrated with his owns over the last sort of 5-6 game weeks. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And of course, Igor Thiago is up front. He will be leaving my team sooner rather than later. He's one of those players that I think for the time being, just because of the fixtures he's got, you have to own. But for me, he's been very underwhelming, very disappointing, as have Brentford in the attacking side of things. So we're going to keep an eye on him. But for now, he will be partnering Ekitike up front for game week 30. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. It feels so good to be back. Like I said, I apologize for my delay in videos. Obviously, it's been about 3-4 weeks now, so we are hopefully going to be back on schedule. I will be back on Wednesday with a FPL challenge video, and of course, Thursday we'll be back with our final team selection video and key questions. So if you guys got anything you want to know about this game week, anything about FPL challenge, feel free to drop it in the comments of this one, and of course, I'll just address them in the relevant videos. But as always, thank you all so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.